I'm testing the taller Singer Silver Reed standard gauge main bed needles on this machine. They are 5 millimeters taller than what was specified for this machine. The only problem that I can see with them are they are too tall to come around and grab the yarn on this other side, especially in the beginning. Once you get cast on, it works okay, but in the beginning, they don't grab the yarn. So that was the only problem that I saw with these needles. And I'm going to show why I like these needles better than the shorter ones. I had bought the Brother River needles that everyone was recommending, and I found that when these needles were approaching the yarn guide, they were not letting the stitch drop below the latch like they should. And I'm going to try to show this. So the old stitch was in the hook, and as the needle was coming up, I would watch it really closely, and it would just rest on that latch like that, and it wouldn't drop below it. It's supposed to go below and come back up, and the latch is supposed to help grab some new yarn to pull through the stitch. But on those shorter needles, get this back on there, I was watching it really closely, and they would get to just the point of dropping off. I hope that's focusing. And then it would stay there, and it wouldn't rise, the needle wouldn't rise up tall enough to drop it below that latch. And so the needle would start going back down, the latch would come up, grab new yarn, and then you'd have the old stitch and the new stitch in the hook. And that's what a tuck stitch is where you're not allowing certain stitches, you're allowing stitches to build up in the hook until you finally knit them all off. And sometimes you do that on purpose on the flatbed knitting machines, but in this case I was not wanting any tuck stitches, and so I was having to fix nearly every row. I was getting a couple of tuck stitches, and I was adding all kinds of weight. I had a pound of weight at the bottom and a pound of weight in the middle, and it helped, but it did not eliminate the problem. So I'm going to try to zoom in right here so I can show that the taller needles are better at making sure those stitches drop below. And all of this that I knit, I had no tuck stitches at all. The only drop stitches I had were in the beginning when these needles were having trouble grabbing yarn on this side. So let's see if I can get a little bit closer. That's better. Hopefully you can see this. Let's see which one's fixing to drop off. This one has already dropped below the latch, and this one is getting ready. So you can watch these two needles here as they start going up, and right there, see right there, it's fixing to drop below that latch. Trying to turn it slowly so it doesn't pop too fast. All right, let me do another one. This one is fixing to drop. So see, the needle went up tall enough to drop it below the latch, and the needle keeps on rising, and it clears that stitch completely. And then the next one comes up. So I'm not getting any tuck stitches with that. That's perfect. They're being allowed to drop off like they're supposed to. But with the Brother needles, I was constantly having to watch right here to try to help it drop, or reach back here and push the stitch down so it would drop below that latch. And you don't want to have to babysit it. So I think that what I'm going to do is modify this file and make it a little bit taller. I'm going to measure on this side to see how much more the yarn needs to come up, and it depends on whether the yarn is being fed from above or below, but usually I've got the yarn on the floor. So I'm just going to kind of measure what would be the ideal place to make sure the yarn on this exit side is above the latches so that the latches can close over the new yarn and pull it into the hook. But again, the only trouble I had was in the very beginning. I had to babysit it, make sure the new yarn was going into the hooks. But now that they're anchored on the exit side, it's grabbing yarn. So I do think the taller needles are better.